So in the 2009 Fall Tour for Cycle Canada, what we're trying to determine is what is the best kind of bike to tour on. Not just a sport touring bike, but every imaginable bike in the range. So this is the adventure touring bike, the KTM 990 Adventure. Victory Vision, which is the land yacht of the tour, with the heated seat and grips made our web editor Derek Romer, who's holding the camera, very happy yesterday. So this is BMW's F800ST, which is a really great nimble bike. It's not so big that it's too cumbersome to ride. The final bike in our foursome for the 2009 Fall Tour is Buell's 1125R, and it's certainly the most athletic of our foursome this year. It's not a pure sport bike in a sense, because it's much more comfortable, and yet if the roads weren't really slick, it would be the bike to have. So we're hoping that the weather will clear at some point. So this is what we're going to determine this year, is which of these four bikes is the bike to own. You would think that on a tour like this, you'd want the big bike on the straightaway and then the sport bike and the twisties. But Uwe was saying this morning, which is true, which is that, weather and road conditions. We had so many damp roads and cool temperatures and pine needles and leaves that everything's kind of the same pace. So it really doesn't matter. I think the victory, is that you have to pay this price. I mean, you have such luxury, but what about the rest of the time when you just want to run to the store? I mean, you have this huge motorcycle, and I almost dumped it in that parking lot the first day because it was so big.
It is cumbersome, but at speed, it's quite maneuverable. And it was actually today in the twisty roads was keeping pace.
Yeah, like I said before, I was really having a good ride on that highway on the Victory when the road tightened up. It was great fun. There are limits to the ground clearance on this bike that you're likely to reach if you press it very, very hard. So you never have that feeling that you can attack a road quite as vigorously as you might like to.
One of the things that they've upgraded is the sound system, which sounds much better than it used to. You can hear it quite clearly at highway speed. And there's also in this storage compartment here, there's an auxiliary cable that you can plug into iPod or an MP3 player.
The little disappointment of the saddlebags is that so much of the front and the back is just the styling. It's not actually the luggage capacity.
For its size, you think it would carry a lot more. Absolutely.
It's so big and such a big bike to maneuver in tight quarters that it wouldn't be a bike I'd want to live with all the time. The F800ST is really just kind of like it's the smallest displacement of any bike here, and it's kind of just like a standard. It doesn't have a lot of options on it. The screen isn't adjustable. It doesn't even have ABS, which is unusual for BMW, but it has the heated grips and the levers right there, which is really handy. And it's such an easy bike to ride. And it feels really light, and the center of gravity is low, and it's a really nimble machine. You get some parallel twin buzz from it, but it's a really enjoyable bike, I found.
Yeah, it does feel extremely light. It feels sporty. I have issues with the relationship between the handlebar height and the pegs. It's definitely too tight. I feel the pegs are too high. For this type of motorcycle, I found it to be very smooth. Just for touring around, it's one of the smoothest motorcycles here.
I don't have a problem with the seat-to-peg relationship. I'm a little shorter than Uwe. Really, it does everything you want of a sport touring bike. It's even got enough power. It goes along pretty good when you downshift a gear or two if you really want to accelerate on the highway. And you can ride it a long distance without getting without discomfort. The top case is large enough to hold a full-face helmet if there's nothing else in it. Side cases are expandable. There are two levers on them, and you turn the key different ways to operate different levers. If you turn the key in one direction, you can free the catches for the case, and it expands. And I suppose you could ride with it fully expanded if you really wanted to fill your side cases up. Probably fit a full-face helmet in there if you had to. And then just by pulling with the lever up.
But if you wanted to ride with it open, what would you'd have to pull these out, right?
The lift and pull, yeah.
Right. So you could do that if you wanted to carry lots of stuff, right?
It's quite alien.
Yeah.
I like.
The release mechanism is very simple. Lift the lever, turn the key the other way, lift the lever, and just pull and she comes off.
For me, one of the great things about the KTM is this relationship between the handlebars and the foot pegs. It's almost the best of any motorcycle imaginable, this kind of monster trailing. The bars are wide, they come back to meet you, and the pegs are really low. It gives you a great view of the road.
This bike, although it wouldn't appear from looking at it, is quite sporty in its handling, and it can be ridden almost like a sport bike. And so the riding position with the wide bars really helps. You hustle it down the road quickly.
Even though it's quite tall for me, I just feel confidence in myself when I'm sitting on it. So I really like that factor, and the comfort of the seating position, which is ideal, is just about perfect. Only adds to the bike.
How do you find the bags, Uwe?
The bags are exceptional. They detach very quickly. There's just one latch. The whole bag comes off. There's big handles to carry them with, and once you're in your hotel room or house or wherever you're staying, there's a latch inside that holds them open. It's a nice open access area. I think these are the ideal type of bags. The only drawback really is this machine has substantial girth, and you really have to be cautious. I would think it's even wider than the Vision. I think the reason we took the Buell was to prove that, as a lot of guys do, is they take their bikes on tours, even though they're limited to owning a sport bike. The Buell has a very elongated seat, so there's lots of room to move around. I've been extremely comfortable on this bike, and would have no qualms doing a long road trip, even though it is a sport bike.
One of the downsides, though, of course, is no heated seat or heated grip, so it really is ideally a warm weather tour.
The handling's great. The motor's really strong. The front brake is awesome. I don't think I've ever felt as powerful a front brake on a motorcycle. And altogether, it's really a sweet bike when the road gets twisty and the weather is dry. But when the road is straight, it's not the bike to be on. It's not as uncomfortable as a full-on sport bike, but it's not comfortable enough to tackle a 2-hour stretch down the freeway, in my opinion.
I think my favorite comes down to the BMW and the KTM. For me, it's the Victory's is too big, and the Buell, although it works really well, it's just too much of a sport bike for this long a distance. And the BMW and the KTM are really close, but I'll give it to the KTM just because of the great riding position, and really, you know, if you're comfortable, you enjoy the scenery a lot more and you enjoy the trip. So that's my choice.
My choice is also the KTM. For me, it represents the best compromise for touring comfort and sporty, aggressive riding. And the beauty with the KTM over the BMW is the fact that if the road ends, the ride doesn't have to. This machine is quite adept at going off-road.
I think I would choose the BMW because it's a little bit of a lower bike. It's easier for me to get on and to reach the ground without having to really stretch my legs at a stoplight. I find that it's a very friendly bike. It can be exciting in the twisties. The motor responds well when you twist the throttle. But it would be just barely ahead of the KTM for me.
The KTM Adventure 990 is the winner. But if the temperature gets any lower, I want the Vision's heated seat.